everyone. Welcome to November.
Hello.
EAC meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order on that. Do I hear a motion?
Yes. Call the meeting to order. We have a motion.
Seconded.
Okay, all right. Did everyone get a chance to look at the October minutes? I think I got everyone's comments. Everyone good with those?
Yep.
Everyone that's
Yep.
on is good with those? All right.
That's good.
Do I hear a motion to approve the October 14, 2021 minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
And I'll second that.
A bunch of seconds. Okay. So they will go out. Unfortunately, they will not go out tomorrow, and they will go out sometime on Monday.
That's fine.
Okay. We're gonna go
I
over
was
some
stuck
quick
in
stuff.
traffic, that's why I'm late.
It's okay. We're gonna hop to 3 first, just because it's easy. Tree planting on the 23rd was a success. Everything looks beautiful. I haven't had a chance to get back there, but it all looked beautiful when I left. We had a whole bunch of happy volunteers, even though it rained a little bit. And I have not gotten a chance to look at what some potential options are for 2022. If the section along Mirror Lake Road, right in front of Patterson Farm, is an option, Jim and I were talking that we were thinking of putting some really pretty large maples and then a whole bunch of shrubs, but I'm pretty sure it's still gonna have to be done in sections. But it's something we can talk about either the next meeting or beginning in January when I'm not so crazy at work. But
We
unless
should
anyone,
We should take a look at some swamp maples if possible.
okay,
Swamp maples?
Yeah, I think what we actually had in mind, some cultivars with exceptional fall color. And one of the things that I thought about initially was calling it maybe Maple Row at Patterson Farm. But this is in stages right now. Suzanne got us thinking about this when she had suggested that, a planting along that area might be, advisable, and it might be, something very, very pretty. So this is something, we're gonna get into. Now, Alan's going to be home, I think, in early December, right? You're gonna be in Lower Makefield?
Yep. I'm gonna be in town.
My plan was for Alan and I, and maybe Linda or Alan and I, do some scouting work to find out some other areas that could, be planted. Because we do have this long-range plan, which, we're working our way through. But we do have this money in the tree bank, and, I think all systems are go now. We have the money, and I think, we ought to start using it like we have been.
For sure.
Yeah.
all right, so we'll worry about that in December. Let me know if you guys plan a field day. I'll try and make it, and we can figure that out.
So you guys know, sorry, Linda, I may not, who knows, be with you guys in January. I may be assigned to other committees, I don't know. But I love that idea, James, and in theory, there's going to be, if the Prickett Preserve moves forward, there's going to be opportunity there for, additional trees / money, and maybe we could really do something spectacular. I'd love to work with you guys, or have the next liaison work with you guys on getting the planting done over by Bain, right? To make sure we could get a partnership with Pennsbury, and because there's that creek over there that's really in distress. I think that would be a big win. That's just my thoughts.
How many sites are we thinking about in 2022?
Depend on what we do as a volunteer and what we bid out. So speaking with Monica, in terms of volunteers, she only wants to have one volunteer event in the fall because it's just logistically, it's just too difficult. But we can figure out, in terms of bidding sites out, we can do something in the spring
All right,
and another one in the fall.
so maybe 3.
The area along Patterson Farm that we were thinking about, planting, what Linda and I were actually thinking about was the large trees would be planted by an outside firm. And it would take probably maybe 30 or 40, I think, trees. It's a long area there. It's maybe not quite a quarter mile, but it's pretty long. And it would take easily 30 or 40 large trees. And then the infill with the shrubs and the understory trees could be done by volunteers. That's just one suggestion, but there's a lot of options I'm sure we're going to be looking at.
I'd love to see some of your thoughts on that. Like the way Linda does those little sketch maps when she's not so crazed at work.
January comes, I'll be a little less crazy. All right, so
I was over there on November 6th and they all look good. I was over there for a art opening a friend of mine had at the Artist of Yardley, and they all look good.
yeah, they turn out in the biggest thing is getting through the winter. So
Yeah.
as long as they get through the winter, okay, we'll be good. All right, so we're out of session. We're gonna go to tree ordinances. So Jim sent the tree ordinance Jim Majewski sent the tree ordinance draft to Jim, Bray, and I. And we're in the process of reviewing it. There have been many changes.
He sent it to everybody.
Oh, did he send it to everybody?
I hope
Oh.
he sent it to everybody. That's what I had asked him to do.
I
Oh,
got
I
a
forgot. Oh, okay. So,
And
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
yeah, me neither, not fully. So everyone
Next
should get a
month.
chance to look at it and we can discuss it at the next meeting because I don't want to rush that.
okay,
Well, it's going to be discussed by the board. So, just want to see, I think we have it on as a discussion item this week,
this week?
meaning December 1st, 2nd, whatever that Wednesday is. And when it's a discussion item, nothing's going to happen other than it being discussed.
Oh, okay.
But
First, yeah. I did have one quick comment. Why is American elm off the list of acceptable trees?
Because we really shouldn't be planting it. I mean, it's a native tree, but that and ash really with the issues that it has, we shouldn't be planting it. And I'm not sure how many
Princeton-
nurseries actually pulled them.
I thought there was a new variety that was resistant to the Dutch elm disease. The Princeton, one of their nurseries, had developed. Well, check into it. Okay.
We can check in.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. It's my understanding, though, that there's no long-term study about that Princeton elm. But so far, Alan, you're right. It seems to be doing okay. But yeah, that's something we could certainly take a look at because, the elm's, quite frankly, one of my favorite trees. That classic vase shape is really, really unique amongst, native trees.
Suzanne, did you hear anything back on the November 18th court hearing on our tree replacement ordinance? Because it was challenged by a developer, the Dogwood Drive developer.
thank you for calling it that. I haven't heard anything per se.
Okay.
I believe that I've asked Barbara Kirk to give us an update. So that'll probably happen in executive session because it's litigation. But I'll
This
stick
was an
with no.
appeal, right? We won the first round, and this is an appeal of the first round. Yeah.
So, as I tell you every time this comes up, I'm not licensed to practice in the state of Pennsylvania, but if this was New York, we would be scheduled to have some kind of mediation at this point. Whether or not the mediation would hold, it's just the court's always trying to get to a resolution,
Right.
that
Get
saves
that
time
over
and money.
first. All right.
So, yeah, I mean, if everyone can look at that, put your comments together that we can discuss at the next meeting.
The next meeting is January, right? Because
No, we have a December meeting.
okay.
We have a
16th,
16th,
is
I
it?
think, I believe.
I'm not, let's see. Ooh, I didn't write it down. I
We
think it's the
say-
16th.
Isn't there anything?
Well,
Well,
not-
Linda is actually looking up that date,
Oh, December 16th, 6 o'clock is the next meeting.
December 16th. Okay. Linda and Jim Majewski and I, actually, we had a meeting on the, I guess it was on the, let me see.
We had a meeting. We don't have to worry about the date.
Yeah,
right
11,
now.
I forget the date though. And we gave Jim some additions, significant additions to the flowering trees, to the deciduous trees, and especially to the shrubs. Now, Jim has incorporated some of those already into the flowering tree list and into the deciduous tree list, but he hasn't done the shrubs yet. I mean, it's a lot of work, okay? It's a lot of, typing and pasting and adding and that sort of thing. So it's not something that, can be done overnight. Also, I think we were waiting some verbiage on the invasive plant wording that we wanted to add into the ordinance as well. So as soon as, we get that, we can come up with a formal, response to the Board of Supervisors. But, except for right now, I mean, we tended to agree with most of the things on there, but of course, the sticky item is the inclusion of any non-native plants, which I don't think, based upon what we've talked about in the council before, that I don't think at this stage the council is going to support that. But that's something we have to discuss on a formal basis in a meeting and come up with, some kind of a vote or response.
For sure.
So it is on the agenda for discussion for December 1st-ish. Sorry that I can't hold that date in my head. I thought that there had been work done by you, Linda, and Tim M. majority on, meaning you guys did the majority of the work on the invasive, so we could have that as well. But I see that it's not here, so at least I don't see it yet. I'll ask Jim where that is. As you know, I am for ornamental trees. Not tons of them, but some of them.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that last statement.
I am for ornamental trees that are not necessarily native trees. Not tons of them, but some of them.
Any flowering trees I'm in favor of.
not breath.
If anybody has comments and can get them to everybody, including me, before the 1st, that would be great. Not saying that's a drop dead date, but it would be helpful if I could try to I will tell the board that you guys, well, I'll tell them whatever you tell me to tell them. And I'll say that it's not, you haven't, finished thinking about it and discussing it. But if you have something you want me to talk about before then, I'm happy to talk about it. That makes sense.
I'll be honest, I haven't looked at it, so I can hopefully get to it before the 1st.
Yeah,
I thought it was, pretty much what you guys had thought. I'm sorry to hear, Jim, and I wrote it down, that Jim M hasn't had a chance yet to get the shrubs in, but you're right, like this, and shameless plug, this is one of the reasons why we're looking to change the structure of that department a little bit, because, you know, Jim does do a lot of different things and he just can't get to it all. So,
I don't know if he has or hasn't. It just wasn't in track changes. I think
so
it's
it
something
could be
that
there, but it could be there, but not highlighted.
could be. It could be. Like I said, Jim Bray and I haven't had a chance to like go through it and actually see what additions were made. It wasn't evident that they were put in there.
Okay.
Oh, there's Jim.
You know, Linda, and since you and I have talked, I actually went through it again, and I haven't found any verbiage on the invasives or on the shrubs. But, you know, that's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of mechanical work, especially, you know, with the shrubs.
He's here.
Jim just came in.
What's that movie? You say the name and the person appears? Jim M. Jim M.
Biggest of the devil, here he is.
Actually, I just tuned into the meeting. I didn't realize that, I thought you guys were going at 7:30. And I just happened to tune in right when Jim said, I don't see where the changes were made. And I think I must have sent you guys the wrong information. Let me call up my screen and I'll show you, I'll run through all the changes that are made. Just a second. So we have the, let's see. Yeah, so we have the ordinance. I know the evergreen trees, I don't think there were any additions on that sheet. I also changed the format slightly so it's easier to read. For the deciduous trees, in red are all the additions that we had discussed. The couple of ones in yellow are the ones that we're taking out, the ash trees and the London plane trees. And then the flowering trees, we have the additions of the half dozen or so trees that we had on there. And you also see in kind of like a purplish color, it's a little tough to read, but the pawpaw tree, the cockspur hawthorn, and the sourwood are ones that were on the deciduous list that are now on the flowering tree list. So these are all the ones that we had spoken about and had been on your list. Then for the shrubs, I know Jim said he didn't see anything in the shrubs. I think I must have sent you a wrong version because I was using the OneDrive and I must have sent you an old version. But here are all the additions to the evergreen.
We don't have that. We don't have that version.
Okay, it's basically the stuff that you sent. I took all of that and added it onto the list. All the stuff in red is down. All the evergreen, deciduous, the flowering shrubs. And I know the flowering shrubs are the ones that are most extensive. You must have added maybe almost 20 of them to the list.
Well, actually, 34.
Okay, well, I'm not good at counting, but. 2, 3,
He's only an engineer.
yeah.
Eh,
And
Just
then,
for, sorry, just for clarification, the X's in the 6 rightmost columns, those are indicative of where these particular shrubs will live best. Those are the optimal conditions. Is that correct?
correct.
Great. Thanks so much.
And then for the ferns and grasses, I don't think we added anything there, but I know ground covers, we added a couple of them onto there. And then for the herbaceous perennials, we added the purple coneflower, which actually I really like that plant,
Spelled
so I'm
it
glad
wrong.
that was added.
Spelled it wrong though.
You made it the purple. It says purple.
That's what I get for not cutting and pasting. That was one of the few that I actually typed in. Like I heard Jim say it's a lot of typing. I did a lot of cutting and pasting because, as you can see, I can't trust my typing. Yeah, so there were just a few of the perennials that were added. onto there. So the list is almost completely inclusive of all the stuff we discussed. There were one or two I left off because I found some information that sort of indicated that they might not be suitable. I forget why. But there were just a couple on there that aren't on that list from what we had discussed.
So Jim, can you fix the typo and then circulate it again, to the group so that everybody has the updated list? And if fixing the typo is something you can't do on the fly, then can you just send it out with the typo so that everybody could have it, and we'll fix it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Jim, now that you're here.
You think he's here? There he is.
There
Don't
he is.
leave, Jim.
Did you add any of the invasive wording into the ordinance?
No, that's a separate ordinance. We have actually,
Oh,
this is a subdivision land development trees, native trees. So this is a completely different ordinance that we would do for all the invasives and everything. And like I said before, we actually have an ordinance that already prohibits some of that. And then the only thing is to supplement that with the information we talked about, where we point to actually the Pennsylvania, state list on invasives, and I forget what the other terms are.
So that'll be done separately, Jim, that strengthening the ordinance we have on the invasives to incorporate the language that you just talked about and any other changes that we think are important. That'll be done as a separate piece.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Like I said, we already have wording on that, but I like having better wording and then pointing to a list that people can get that's updated by the state periodically. So as the list changes, we don't have a plant that's on the list and then later they say, oh, actually, this one's nice. Although I doubt they do that, but they add stuff to the list periodically.
Thank you for all of this work,
All right.
by the way.
Oh, well, actually, Jim Bray did a lot of work, and so did Linda, getting this stuff together. And the only thing I have to do is proofread it to make sure I don't spell purple wrong.
Yeah, my wetware doesn't come with spell check either.
So Suzanne, you want us to look at this, and if we have any preliminary comments, send them to you, or how?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I really would like to get this done this year.
All right.
Speaking of which, and I know I'm out of turn, can someone remind me the date of the recycling event? Because I wanted to get that announced and then get it out.
Yeah, we were going to talk.
January 8th, right, Alan?
Does January 8th work? Because 15th is an option if people have trouble with 8th. I can do either date. Doesn't matter to me. So, want to stick with the 8th? Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay. It'll probably be cold, but we'll take it. All right.
not
It's
gonna
the
be warm on the 15th.
8th. Yeah. So January 8th, 10 to noon.
Thank you.
We got it.
All right, can we again just get back for a minute for the tree ordinance changes? What I was thinking about is I pretty well know the tone of the EAC, but we have to have a formal vote on this. So what I was thinking is I was going to write up something to submit for the next meeting that we have, send it out maybe at least a week or two before, so everybody can digest that, and then come up with some kind of a formal vote in our next meeting. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yep. Sounds like a good plan.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Okay.
And if we have any comments, we'll send them to you, Jim. Also?
Well, you'll have the, my write-up at least a week, maybe 10 days before.
Okay, and then we'll do it from there. Okay. Yeah.
And then you can take a look at that. And if you have any initial comments, fine, that I can incorporate. Otherwise, at the meeting, we'll hash it out and we'll come up with some kind of resolution that we can pass on to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
I guess we're on the next item then, or whatever.
Yeah, land use, Alan.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick update on the projects. The Deck Minor subdivision, that's the one at Woodland Drive and West Schoolhouse Lane. They have their own special zoning board meeting scheduled for November 30th. And that's because there's so much interest in it. They need a whole meeting just devoted to that one application or one variance request.
Alan,
Jennings-
Alan?
Yep.
That's not a minor subdivision.
Oh, it's
It's
not.
actually a lot of record that they want to build on, but they need a number of variances to build on that existing lot of record.
So it's already subdivided then. They just.
Yeah, it's a lot existing, and that's where they get into a favorable thing for them, in that since it's an existing lot of record, they have a little bit more in their favor when they're trying to argue their argument. And then they do have to, there are people opposing, including the township.
Right. All right, the second one was the Jennings Lot subdivision, right? That's a subdivision. And Jim sent out an email saying that they had withdrawn their request for the variance. So that one is dead for now. But apparently they retained an attorney to look at it some more. But it seems like they just don't have enough property to do what they want to do, but we'll see. And then the last one is the Bucks County Smiles office, and that's going before the zoning board on December 7th. It was moved. And that's the one at Dobry Road and Oxford Valley Road. And then the last one is one that Jim sent us just a few days ago, the 1273 Lindenhurst Road. It's a lot they want to subdivide, right, into 3 lots from 1.
Correct.
Right, and it's right where Quarry Hill Road hits Lindenhurst, if you want to know where the exact lot is. And I looked at it, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of natural resource land on it. There's some trees, especially around the perimeter, but there's no woodlands from what I could tell.
Didn't it used to be a tree farm of some kind? Like you're over by Gray Nun, kind of, right?
Yeah, you're kind of across the road from it, right?
Yeah.
That corner there.
It's
You
a
can
stone
understand the-
house that's historic that sits up high. There's a stone wall along Lindenhurst Road, and it's a big stone house. And then there's a stone barn in back, and they're actually right at the traffic light is where their driveway is.
Right.
And they have enough room to put 2 more lots on it. They did come to the planning commission a couple of years ago, and they got a lot of feedback saying that you're close, but they're missing a whole bunch of details. And then I think they were going into tax sale, then someone bought it, and now they plan to come back and look at it again and maybe subdivide it.
All right.
In the middle
They
of the
have not
site.
submitted anything officially to the township?
No,
No preliminary plan, nothing like that?
they came in and introduced themselves a few weeks ago, and because I'd given them information on what we had done a couple of years ago, that it had gone to the planning commission. I gave them the meeting minutes and told them, here's what the feedback you had before, and just all the little things that were missing that they need to address. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Linda, do you have a question?
Oh, so there's a footbridge in the middle of the site.
That is correct. We don't know what that is.
Oh, because there's a
It doesn't
pipe there
appear to be
too.
anything.
Oh, because there's a terracotta pipe there also. That's what I was trying to figure out, because I didn't see any natural resources, but I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out why there's a pipe and a footbridge.
When they went to the planning commission, I had pointed that out to them and said, you might want to figure out what is this thing? Because it doesn't look like, well, there's no stream there. There's no There's no evidence of anything that would make sense. It's just a bridge in the middle of a lot.
Bridge to
I was
no,
kind of confused because the topography didn't show anything either, so I didn't know if I was missing something.
yeah, it's sloped.
You're not. They need to figure out what that is exactly. I've looked back at old records and haven't found anything that can give a hint of what it may have been. It's interesting. Good
So
catch.
as long as we're talking about zoning, the agenda for the board meeting on the 1st has a lot of zoning appeals. And one of them is for the Point, which is where those historic buildings sit.
Yeah.
So they're going to come in and talk a little bit about what their thoughts are. So you may want to tune in live or in Memorex to see that.
All right. I will. All right, so I guess that's it for land use. Other than, we did send in that November 14th email for 2 reasons. I thought it was a relatively painless way to get some money set aside for open space, because it's been my experience that the supervisors are more likely to dedicate money to open space if it's already there, already set aside. So that's why I thought that might be a good idea. And the second was just to get open space in the discussion. There was no mention of it in the budget. So at least the supervisors are thinking about it now. Supervisor Weiss responded, and I guess the budget isn't getting changed at all from what I understand. So it won't be in there, but hopefully we'll get some money from the sewer sale for open space. So I guess that's our hope at this point. And that's it for land use.
All right, recycling. We hit on the styrofoam recycling, January 8th.
Hi, Jim.
2022.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Can't hear Linda.
Oh.
Yep, there you're back.
Oh, there you are. So the styrofoam recycling is January 8th. I guess, Paul, if you can put that in the newsletter. that would be
Newsletter,
great.
yep.
Right. What we don't know is if we're collecting household batteries, because Kevin was going to look into that to see whether he had a local place to take them to. And I don't think. Oh, Kevin, you're here. God.
Yay.
I've been on mute.
Okay, just mention your name and there you are. Did you find out anything? Should we be collecting them or not?
Yeah, let's continue proceeding with the idea of collecting it. And if I end up with way too many, then I'll just take them bit by bit to where I could take them. But I don't want to turn them away.
Okay, so we'll put them in the announcements. I'll put together a flyer for this one. And do you need it, Paul? You want me to send it to you?
Yeah, send it to me, please.
In fact, I'll send it to everybody so they have
All right.
it. And
Everything again? Are we doing the corks and the pill bottles? again?
corks, yeah, corks, and I assume pill containers.
Let's go ahead and assume it. Yeah.
Yeah, And,
Um,
yeah.
So the Boy Scouts have announced that they're already starting their Christmas string light collection at the Big Oak Sitco. So they're going to be collecting through January 11th. Do we have any desire to try to connect with them and, tell people to bring them here and then we'll bring them there, or just let them keep bringing them to Big Oak Sitco? Because last year and the year before, I think they had somebody with a box when we were, doing our holiday
years
styrofoam
ago.
collection.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
When's the next newsletter going out?
I was thinking about doing the first or second week of December.
So I would say just put it in there and tell people to bring it there. At least it's announced by us.
Right.
And then, if worst comes to worst, people can bring the lights to us and we can just somehow
I
connect.
can drop them off. It's a block from my house.
I'll send you
Sitka.
the little thing, Paul.
All right,
Put it in
sounds
the
good.
newsletter, Paul. I don't know if I can fit it on the flyer, though. We're getting pretty filled up.
The flip side.
Yeah,
And what are the dates again that the Boy Scouts are doing it? I have to get rid of a lot.
Hold on. All these newfangled things. December 11th through January 11th. At 812 Big Oak Road.
All right, so that brings us to garbage recycling containers. Monica sent out an email, which honestly, I just kind of browsed through. It didn't look like it was just kind of responding to questions, comments, and asking other questions. So if everyone hasn't had a chance to look through that, please do that and respond to her.
well,
I'm not sure when her next iteration is coming out.
She is waiting on us to release the next iteration, as I understand it. It seems that she's thinking of changing this plan from being a 2-year plan with then a whole bunch of thinking, but thinking more along the lines of a 15 to 20-year plan.
which I think is ridiculous. Way too long.
It's a bit long, and I think that we should. I think it is worth our trying to urge the township to focus our resources towards reducing that to a much shorter time
Maybe a
frame.
5-year plan.
5-year plan,
Yeah.
sounds.
I know that everything does feel urgent, especially when one sits on that committee, but the global climate emergency is a real ticking time bomb in its own way. So I do hope that we'll get a better handle on recycling a little faster than that. One procedural question I would have in response to Monica is I'm first off really excited that Monica has been collaborating with us throughout this, because there are many things that one can and can't and might choose not to do in her capacity. And it's very generous and kind of her, I think, to be taking so seriously our desire to have a better recycling program. Do we feel that we should be inviting Monica to EAC-wide meetings to continue conversations that may be best conducted in real time? Or do we feel Alan, Jean, and I have been meeting, we've had a meeting where the three of us have discussed recycling plans. Is it better for Monica to continue the conversation with Jean, Alan, and me on behalf of the EAC?
I will say the latter on her behalf. Not having asked her,
Sure.
just that, she is stretched thin. And,
Okay.
Jonah, depending on who you talk to, you'll hear slightly different versions of the same theme.
Sure.
But I think the board looks to the different committees and commissions and councils that we have as, kind of being the laboring arm of different priorities, right? Like the tree plantings that you've heard about, that, that really was spearheaded by these people that you're looking at, right? Like we had this tree bank money, and Alan made some snarky comment one day to me, like, what's the money doing in the bank?
That was said with all due respect, however, Suzanne.
You know what? Sometimes it, it takes somebody to ask a question for us to rethink things, right? So we were collecting money in the tree bank, but apparently there was no way to, or very little spending of the tree bank money
Right.
going.
Yeah.
And because of that, right, you see in the newsletter how many trees and shrubs you guys have planted through volunteers. And now we're going to take it to the next level again. I'm not saying you all don't make snarky comments, but I hear Alan's voice the most in my head. He made a comment about, like, there's only so many shovels that the residents of Lower Makefield can carry. Why can't we bid some of these projects out? Right? So boom, boom, we got 2 of them bid out this year, Alan, and hopefully we'll get more.
Yeah.
But so if you guys like the idea of a 5-year plan, I don't know that we can get there, but maybe you
Okay,
start drafting it out, right? And
Sure.
like I'm
Right.
sitting there thinking like, where do other towns, where do whomever get the money for this stuff, right? For recycle cans.
well, two things. The EAC has some money left in our budget. Do we want to buy one set of recycling and trash containers, a combined set, and donate them to the township?
I
can
would
work-
be hesitant to spend the money prior to finalizing a plan, unless the money is going to disappear.
The money
next year.
disappears December 31st.
Okay.
You know,
So-
I mean, don't we need to know what kind of containers we're gonna
Yeah.
purchase so that they're all the same?
Right, I can look at it and send out some suggestions and everybody can weigh in on it if you want, including Monica. She'd probably want to see.
Yeah, that's
But,
a
but
good idea, Alan, because my initial look-see at these containers is the price is in the stratosphere, and I'm not sure I understand that. But if you
Yeah.
could have some information on that for all of us to take a look at, maybe we could weigh in and maybe come up with some alternative that's a little less expensive. I understand quality costs, but you know, you don't have to have a Rolls Royce if you can get a good Ford that's running well. So,
Yeah, we can look at them all. And then Suzanne, the township gets, I think we got 106,000 last year for our recycling, the township's recycling. It's a state grant, it's called a 904 grant, and it comes right into the township's budget. It seems logical to use a sliver of that to buy, you know, a couple of these sets of recycling and trash containers every year. So that's one
I can look
option.
into it. I can look into that for sure.
Yeah, I sent Monica this information. I'll send it to you. I'll forward the email I sent to her last week about it.
Yeah, I think maybe I was on that, but you know, to the point, right? Like, let's pretend that there's a, you know, and I don't want to get too dramatic, but like if there's a grant that other towns are getting, you know,
Yeah, there are
What do you
grants
think?
available like
Right.
that.
you know, Monica is, you know, the chief cook and bottle washer, right? And so she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing this, right? So maybe, you know, if that's one way to do it, maybe we could help her write the grant applications. Maybe there's a way to do some kind of thing like, you know, we have all these Eagle Scout projects and Girl Scout projects, like can we somehow connect with them and they could do some fundraising or whatever, and we could get more trash cans like that, you know, recycle cans. That's something that, because what, from where I sit, you know, and should the sale of the sewer go through, it, you know, we'll be in a different position, but not really much of a different position because we have so much debt to pay down and yeah, you know, how do we start continuing to build back better? No, wait, that's been taken. You know, the stuff that the township hadn't been doing for years, right? The paving of the roads and apparently the buying of recycled containers. Like, how do we do it in a way that's systematic and logical and not like, you know, drunken sailors and then find ourselves in the same position that we were in at the start of 2018. So I know that's a lot there, but Jonah, that's,
Yeah.
she probably won't have time to come. But I think one of the things maybe for 2022 we take on, or you and whomever your liaison is takes on, is trying to build out what a better 5-year plan could be and who else we could partner with to make it happen.
I think that's very reasonable. Just for the sake of formality and good order, do we need to have a motion to like authorize Alan, Jean, and me to be meeting with, or we just agreed that that's fine? Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Update us at the next meeting.
It's like Linda and Jim talk about trees and shrubs with Jim.
Sure.
We can,
Thank you for the clarification on that procedure.
yeah. So we need to get back with Monica. Maybe we can, you, me, and Jean can look at the document and anybody else too and send us any comments. So when we meet with her, we have our comments on her response.
I think that would be great. Let's continue this perhaps offline for the sake of allowing for the rest of the agenda. Does that work for all?
Yep.
Yep.
Jonah, any more updates on plastic bag reduction?
Sure. Just to give folks an update, do I have share screen capabilities here? I'm going to give it a shot. It looks like I do
Okay,
so far. I'm going to see if I can.
if not, if we just, oh, there we go.
Okay. So just to make sure that I'm saying things in order, I created a bit of a PowerPoint for myself. And I hope that it's helpful to anyone else. Let's see, to do the slideshow itself, we'll play from the start. So just in terms of the next steps for reduction of single-use plastic in Lower Makefield Township, it's useful for us to think about other places that have gone through some plastic reductions. We know that it is helpful. I like to think of this case study in Ireland, that in 1999, there was an estimate of about 1.26 billion plastic shopping bags that were handed out annually for free. And it all just sort of ends up in a landfill. Then in 2002, so that's 3 years later, 15 € tax on plastic shopping bags is introduced in Ireland. And ultimately, the effect is that the consumption of plastic shopping bags went from 90% with an increase of reusable bags from 36% between 1999 and 90%. So we do know that some disincentive from asking for a reusable plastic bag can have some positive social impact from elsewhere, and there have been many places that have also tried this. We know that Philadelphia and Pittsburgh have also been going through several also iterations of looking through this. So one of the things that we have not, as far as I understand, done in implementing this is, well, rather what we have done in refraining from implementing this is, I think we have, whether or not we've consciously or explicitly stated these notes, there is the common barriers that we might expect are very similar to what Ireland initially feared, that there may be consumer protests, that people might think that either this money is going just to give extra money to the stores, or that people are going to feel like they're giving way too much money to the government. And business owners thought that consumers would blame the retailers for profiteering. There were also concerns from butchers, for example, who, whether or not they had the correct information, they were worried that plastic bags that is necessary for meat products or other kinds of meat, or sorry, other kinds of products wouldn't be able to get the plastic bag that is necessary for hygienic reasons. And then there's also the concern of what happens if we start creating this disincentive of people pay 10 cents or 5 cents or whatever it is every time they have to acquire a non-reusable plastic bag. So do local authorities end up with additional time and effort and cost that we can't actually make back in trying to enforce and to track this revenue that might be due either to the township or even to the stores? And how are all of these funds allocated appropriately? So in Ireland, when they looked at the costs against the actual revenue that was earned in the first year of instituting a plastic bag ban, there was a total of €1,708,000 that went into implementing this new policy. And it did not end up being some immeasurable measure, because there was almost 12 times the return in the levies that were acquired from just instituting this new policy. So we also do see that over time, plastic bag waste has generally gone down. There have been, as you might anticipate, there have been some ebbs and flows, that in 2006, there was a weird moment where after the plastic bag waste had fallen in 2002 from 5% to 0.25% and then down to 0.22% the next year. 2006, for some reason, there's just a huge increase, about twice as much plastic bag usage. whereas in 2015, there's approximately only 0.13%. This is just 6 years ago. So we do see that over time, these levies can be helpful for reducing all of this. For us to implement the plastic bag, any form of plastic bag reduction, we are going to want to have this be something that the people of Lower Makefield feel like they can handle. So generally when it comes to strategizing how we're going to implement any new eco-conscious policy, I like to turn to this work, Social Marketing to Protect the Environment, from Doug Mackenzie Moore, Nancy Lee, P. Wesley Schultz, and Phil Kotler, who wrote an entire book of different case studies on different environmental policies, how they've played out, where have they succeeded, where have they not succeeded, and how do we see the most positive change in the end. So we identify behavior to target, we identify the barriers, and we identify the benefits to that behavior. We develop a strategy that reduces the barriers to behavior and also increases the benefits of changing our behavior. We pilot the strategy and we can evaluate how the implementation is going once we've actually implemented it. So where are we? We have selected a behavior. We know that single-use plastic reduction is what we are trying to get at. We want people to be using their reusable shopping bags. We want people to be not using non-reusable plastic bags. That is what we want. We're good there. For number two, what are the barriers, the benefits? We should be doing a little bit of surveying and some focus groups just so we can learn a little bit more here. But it is, I think, a fairly safe presumption that we are looking at the same thing Ireland feared of consumer protests. Maybe there would be shoplifting if people are bringing their own bags. I don't think that we have to worry about that, but it's just a thing that people might be concerned about. And people might think that they need particular kinds of plastics. And then there's the question of time and the effort for implementing a new policy. And as far as developing a strategy that reduces barriers and increases the benefits, if we are finding single-use plastic bags, then that is certainly the disincentive that we want. What I would love to do, which I didn't know actually happens, but I was really excited to learn happens in Princeton at I believe it's the Whole Earth Market in Princeton, where you can get a very small discount when you bring your very own reusable bag. So we can encourage local businesses in Lower Makefield to, instead of finding people 5 cents for giving them a plastic bag, you bring your own reusable bag, you can get 5 cents off of what you order, off of what you purchase. And in terms of piloting the strategy, I don't know how much piloting we specifically need to do, because we do see that similar strategies have already been implemented next door to us in New Jersey and in Pittsburgh and in Allentown and in Philadelphia. And as far as evaluation for the broad scale strategy, I do think that eventually and down the road after implementation takes place, local research should happen. But for now, I think we can take some comfort in knowing that studies of similar programs demonstrate success. We have identified the behavior, and basically what we're up to is number two of before we really get into implementing anything, I think we would do well to do a little bit of surveying and working with some focus groups. I did produce a survey, which I'm going to see if I can open that in a separate screen share very briefly. If there are particular folks who would like to look at this, review this with me rather than do this whole EAC wide, I'm happy to move that for later. But I did come up with a draft of a survey. I've left the share screen, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
A
great.
lot of time left, so why don't you just send a survey to everyone and we can all look at it?
Okay, sure. I will do that. And in short, I will say that I am continuing dialogue with partnering Bucks County municipalities that are also considering single-use plastic bag reduction. So I've been in touch with folks indicating that there's such projects happening in Solberry, in Doylestown, in Plumstead, Buckingham, Newtown, and now also Tinicum. So we would not be the only part of Bucks County that would be working on this, and we wouldn't be in a situation where we are being sui generis in the region, we would be able to say that we're being part of a larger trend. And hopefully that will also help people realize that even if you go shopping somewhere else, you might end up fined for a plastic bag, or you might not even be able to get a plastic bag. So that is where I think we are. In addition to that, when I spoke with Representative Perry Warren, he suggested that at this point I should be in touch with for review of the text of an ordinance, which I'd sent around not too long ago. He had suggested that I be in touch with our township solicitor, David Truelove, I believe. And I don't know if it would make more sense for me to be in touch with Jim Majewski. I do see that for many policy questions, he's the person, but I'm happy to follow the lead of whatever should be next steps.
Well, you don't contact the solicitor.
Okay, sure.
I'm not sure what the next step is, but I know what's not the next step.
Okay, sure.
Do you know?
Go ahead, Jim. Alan.
Do you know who keeps the money from like these 10-cent bag fees? They have one out in Denver. They just started it 6 months ago. I should check and see who gets the money, because I was just thinking, give the store part of it because they supply the bags and deal with it. But maybe that would be a source of funding for our recyclable containers in our parks. We kept part of it for us. Just my thought.
Yeah, I don't know where the money goes. I think that it may differ municipality to municipality. But I do get the sense that sometimes it goes to the state, sometimes it goes to the store. And I think that if there's a 50-50 way of working that out, that may be helpful.
Right. So that might be a possible source of funding for recycling containers.
Sure.
Jonah, have you investigated what's going on in Delaware?
I have not. Paul, can you share what's going on in Delaware?
Well, they passed the law to ban it, but I haven't heard anything since.
It might not be in effect yet.
Mm-hmm. I'll be going in next summer. That's why.
Okay. Great.
All right. Good work.
Thank you, Alan.
Good
More
work,
to talk
Jonah.
about for sure.
Sure. So next steps, I will send out the survey to the EAC, and then I think perhaps at the next meeting, it may be helpful for us to discuss what to do with that survey, if we can send it out in some particular way. I will ask one other thing, which is, and maybe this is also for the next conversation. I'm going to save it for next month.
Something to look forward to.
Yep.
Thanks. I hope so.
That, unfortunately, we are at time. Paul, can you please, pretty please, fill out your section of the end of year reviews?
End of year? Okay.
Please, thank you. And we can go over them at the next meeting and at least
Okay.
get the 2021 finished.
I can't hear you.
I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with my speaker. So hopefully we can get that looked at and approved for at least the 2021 for the next meeting.
Okay.
One quick thing, Linda, on the 2021 year-end review, take out number 3, the plastic bag reduction. I think that's from 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be a quick, easy thing to do.
Yeah, I think as far as the 2021 is concerned, though, my personal feeling is we shouldn't release that this year, but I would say early next year, probably January or February, so as not to cause any confusion with the 2020 that we're going to be releasing very soon.
Yep. And you probably can take out that Yardley grant.
Okay, that's what from both of them, right?
Yeah, both of them, because, hopefully this year we'll be doing, or next year we'll be doing something on it, but it hasn't been active last 2 years.
All right, well, what's the next step though, Linda? When you get the information from Paul, are you going to incorporate that and then send it out to everybody one last time or just let it go?
Yes. No, because we have to vote on it, don't we?
Yeah, I would think so.
So, yeah, once I get the information from Paul, I'll send it out and hopefully we can talk about it. So Paul, please, if you can get it to me before the next meeting, this way I'll get it out and we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right, and maybe you can actually release it to everybody before the meeting so we can.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you. And by the way, good job, Linda. I did that for years, and it's really a time-consuming project. It takes a lot of time, and I know you work for a living, so again, thank you, Linda.
Linda's looking so forward to the reorg meetings where maybe there's a new chair in 2022. Who knows, Linda? Maybe they
Nice.
pick you again.
Let's hope not.
You can't shake it.
You're so good.
Rose, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know,
Everyone else should have
Did
fun
I
at
hear
this.
Kevin in 2022? Wow, the groundswell.
Somebody else has to take it. I got it 2 years in a row. Somebody else has to have as much fun as I'm having. So, okay, with that, we're gonna call this meeting to order.
I mean, adjourn.
Adjourned, sorry. Adjourned.
We can do this all
There's
again. right?
no order.
Yeah, I know. No order. So we're gonna call this meeting adjourned. Do I hear, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
second.
Happy
Oh.
Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good
And
work,
a safe
everybody.
holiday for all.
Yep.